2nd, 2025. Will the city clerk please make the announcements and call the roll?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First, I would like to remind everybody in attendance to please silence all cell phones and other electronic devices at this time. Individuals who would like to provide a public comment at a city council meeting are required to complete and submit those public comment cards in advance of the meeting. Public comment cards are available online at the chamber entrance. Those providing public comment may be allotted up to 3 minutes to speak on their single chosen topic. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Rusty Paul.
Present.
Councilmember John Paulson. Here. Councilmember Melody Kelly. Councilmember Melissa Mueller.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Rochelle. Absent. Councilmember Tibby DiGiulio. Here. Councilmember Andy Bauman.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, have we received any public comment cards?
Yes, we've received one public comment card this evening from Ms. Leisha Stokes.
All right, Ms. Stokes.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Paul, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
My name is Leisha Stokes, and I live in the Meadowgate neighborhood off of Nesbitt Ferry at 4105 Meadowgate Drive in District 1. I'm a Sandy Springs native, growing up on Brandon Mill across from what is now Lost Corner Preserve, but what we knew as Mr. Ed's property. He lived there with his sister Peggy, which she bequeathed to the city once she passed. I went to Spalding Drive Elementary, rest in peace, Sandy Springs Middle School, which is now the Kroger across the street, North Springs High School, and when I was in high school, I worked with the Big Trees Preserve as part of our science class, and we measured the trees and got the park to be what it is. So enough about me. I'm here tonight to bring to the council's attention to a historic part of Sandy Springs, the Woodall House, that is imminently at risk of being destroyed, with permits being requested by the new owners for complete demolition. CDR 2025-607. So if you've driven down Nesbitt Ferry in our far part of Sandy Springs, surely you have seen the historic Woodall House located about halfway down the street on the right. For over 40 years, the previous owners lovingly restored, maintained, and updated the original 12-room farmhouse built in 1854, as well as several other historic additions on the property that they had relocated from other sites in the southeast. But the property was sold over the summer, and it recently came to our attention that the new owners had filed permit requests for full demolition of the property and buildings. This is obviously alarming to us and many of our neighbors in the area because we all love this beautiful home for the historic value and the origins of our area. According to what I've read, it is the oldest existing maintained home in Sandy Springs. For a quick history on the Woodall House, in 1854, Charles Newton Woodall built the farmhouse for his wife, Martha Caroline Humphreys Woodall, and their children on their 500-acre land that spanned from the Chattahoochee River to Happy Hollow Road, which is now Happy Hollow Road, in Sandy Springs. The property began as a part of Henry County in 1854, became part of Milton County 3 years later, and is now part of Fulton County because of the merge. The family cemetery rests on private property off of Happy Hollow on a hill behind the neighborhood and is maintained by Dunwoody Preservation Trust because it is in Dunwoody. In addition to farming the land for cotton, wheat, and corn, the Woodalls operated a ferry in tandem with the Nesbitt family on the other side of the Chattahoochee. The actual street name was Nesbitt Ferry Road was shortened from its full name of Nesbitt Woodall Ferry Road. I don't know what year that was. The Woodall House and its outbuildings were built approximately 170...
Ms. Stokes, I need you to finish up. Your 3 minutes is up. If you just a couple more sentences, and we'll...
Okay, it's 170 years old. It survived the Civil War. Sherman's troops actually crossed the river right around there. And it is... I would like for the council to investigate the issue in property and see if there's anything that the city can do to prevent this tragedy. If the permitting plans currently submitted to Sandy Springs are approved, it will mean destruction of what I believe is a significant part of our city.
Ms. Stokes, I need you to wrap up. I hate.
Yes. No, it's okay.
You can submit your entire statement to the city clerk,
Okay.
and she'll make sure we get a copy of it, okay?
Yes, so I'm just asking if there's anything our city government can do to help prevent this loss for
All
our
right.
community.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Mayor Paul,
Mr.
if I may, Ms. Stokes, I got your email.
Yes.
And I've begun I haven't actually had the conversation, but I've asked for that. So let me find out what else the city can do for that property, and then I'll let you know what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll close the public comment period. Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. DiGiulio.
I move approval of the meeting agenda with the following change, moving item 2025-273 off of the consent agenda and moving it onto the meeting agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Paulson, that we approve the meeting agenda today with the exception of removing item 2025-273 from the consent calendar and putting it at the foot of the calendar tonight. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on approval of the meeting agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The meeting agenda approved. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Paul,
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we approve the consent agenda for Tuesday, December 2, 2025.
As amended.
Consent agenda has not been
As
amended.
amended.
Oh, it has been amended. That's
Yeah.
correct. As amended.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Mueller, that we approve the consent agenda as amended. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The consent agenda is approved. Moving to presentations, will the clerk please read the item?
This is agenda item number 2025-277, the presentation of the FY 2025 audit, presented by Josh Carroll, partner with Malden and Jenkins.
Mr. Carroll.
Thanks for having me, Mayor and Council. All right, the clicker's working. Okay, so as the clerk said, I'm going to present the results of the June 30th, 2025 audit. You don't have the audit in front of you, the annual comprehensive financial report. It's with our processing department. They're making sure it looks pretty and it's grammatically correct and nothing was spelled wrong, but we don't anticipate any changes to the numbers, the results. Our opinion's not going to change, so I feel pretty comfortable presenting it, and we should have that finalized by the end of the week and to the city. This is my agenda. I'm going to go over kind of our audit opinion, some required communications. I got a few financial trend slides and questions at the end. If anybody has any questions as I'm going along, you can feel free to stop me at any time. This slide, this is kind of a snapshot of Malden and Jenkins, who we are, what we do. We have offices all over the Southeast, but I spend my entire year doing nothing but counties and cities and state agencies and development authority audits. Everybody that worked on your audit is in the same position. I don't do any tax work. Kind of fill up my year. I spend my whole year doing state and local government audits. Everyone else that worked on the audit does as well. So we bring a lot of expertise to your annual audit. The statements are the responsibility of the city's management. Our objective as your external auditor is to express an opinion. We followed all the generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards, and we did issue an unmodified or a clean opinion, which is what you'd hope to receive from your audit. So as far as we're concerned, your financial statements are materially correct. We also issue a report on compliance and control. We come in, we kind of just look at all your cycles. We look at how you receipt cash, how you disperse cash, how you enter into contracts with vendors, how you onboard an employee, terminate an employee, kind of walk through all your internal controls there. The city has great segregation of duties over those processes, so you have a clean opinion there as well. The little anticipated in red there, the city gets federal grants. We looked at your highway planning and construction program this year. There were 3 or 4 grants in there. We looked at a sample of expenditures, all the reporting requirements that go along with those grants. We feel like the city followed everything and administered those federal grants appropriately. The federal government has not issued the compliance supplement for 2025. They've issued a draft. We don't anticipate any changes, but we actually can't issue the single audit or our opinion until that compliance supplement comes out. But you do have to submit your ACFR to the state of Georgia and to the GFOA, so we went ahead and kind of did everything, and we're waiting on that compliance supplement. But I don't anticipate any changes, and you will have a clean opinion there as well. This slide, if I was on council, I think I'd want to know, do we have anything unusual or aggressive, maybe in the accounting policies that we use, or if there's any kind of judgments or estimates that might sway your statements one way or the other. You don't. They're just everything is disclosed in the notes. You have very similar policies and estimates to a city of your size. A lot of your neighbors use the same accounting policies and estimates, so I feel pretty good about them. There's really nothing unusual or aggressive there. We have a good relationship with management. It definitely takes two. It's not just the auditors. We come in, we ask for a lot of information. Most of it is from Tony and her group, but all the departments we visit, all the way up to the city manager's office, we get everything we need. Nothing seems hidden or covered up, so we appreciate the city continuing to partner with us and work to get the annual audit done. We didn't have any adjustments. We get the trial balance from Tony. We kind of do our thing. We audit it. We didn't have any adjustments that we had to post, and nothing we have to pass on. A past adjustment would be something that was small we thought didn't need to be booked. So really clean set of books. Tony and her team do a great job preparing for the audit. And we are independent. We don't do any bank reconciliations. We don't post journal entries. We don't close the books and then come in and turn around and audit our own work. We don't get compensated for anything other than the annual audit. So the clean opinion you received is independent. The next slides are all financial trends. This slide, this is your general fund. It's the main operating fund of the city. This is kind of a breakdown of your revenues, where your revenues come from. This is kind of typical of most governments. The taxes and charges for services kind of make up the city's, over 90% of the city's revenues. The next slide here, we kind of break down those taxes. The pie chart on the left, it's kind of, I see a balance here. It's good. You're not solely dependent on one revenue stream. We like to see that. And down on the bottom, we kind of break out a lot of the revenues, and you can kind of see over the years they jump up and down depending on, intergovernmental. Those are usually grants. Those come and go. They're not consistent. The big purple line is mostly interest income. Rates kind of went up from 21 to 24, and they've kind of leveled back off. So we took advantage of those rates. Most of that was our Georgia Fund 1 investments. So a lot of consistency, good positive revenues. This slide, these are your expenses. Public safety is the largest bucket for most local governments, so Sandy Springs is no different. And this has been a really consistent trend over the last 5 years. I don't have the trend here of the expenses by the functional areas, but this is what we would expect to see. And this is your general fund. It's your revenues and your expenses, and our revenues are exceeding our expenses. So we're kind of adding to fund balance. This doesn't include transfers out to other funds. This is just straight revenues and our budgeted, functional expenses. But we do have some transfers out that kind of level those two buckets, and we'll see that coming up. This is your fund balance. It's the last 5 years. Our fund balance has kind of gone up and down, but it's relatively flat. The different categories there, assigned, that's fund balance that we can use for anything. Assigned fund balance is another kind of bucket where we've maybe earmarked some funds for maybe a capital project, or we're using it to balance our next fiscal year budget. And non-spendable is items like inventory and prepaids. It's not really a fund balance that we can use. This slide is probably the most important financial trend. To me, it's your general fund, and it shows your fund balance as a ratio compared to your expenses and your transfers out to the other funds. So that would include, we transfer money to the PFA fund for debt service and some capital. We also transfer funds to the capital project fund. And the GFOA is the standard setting body of local government. They recommend 2 to 3 months at a minimum, 16 to 25%. And so your 22% there, that is unassigned. You're right in the 2 to 3 month window there. And then you also have your assigned fund balance. And again, we do transfer quite a bit of money to the PFA fund and the capital project fund. We just sort of move that fund balance over there so they can spend that on capital projects. So overall, you have a really healthy fund balance. And the big dip down in 22 that you see there is, it's in the purple. That's kind of when the PFA activity really kind of took off. And we have no findings, no weaknesses in controls or segregation of duties, no adjustments to the financial statements. That's certainly not the norm for local government. So the city has an excellent finance team and policies and procedures and controls in place, and we seem to be following those, so that's really nice to see. And we are a full-service CPA firm. We don't just do audits. We have a government advisory service team. They do niche projects that kind of fall in these 4 pillars. They do a lot of operational assessments, come in and look at how is one department operating, or maybe a citywide project. The scope could be as broad or as narrow as you choose, and they look at how are we operating, why are we doing what are we doing, how does that compare to our own comprehensive plan, maybe best policies, maybe industry standards, and what are we doing well, what could we do better, and ultimately deliver services to the citizens of Sandy Springs. If that's something the council's interested in hearing more about, I'd love to set up a meeting with the partner who heads that up. This slide, we do have a cybersecurity group, but I just kind of use this as a reminder. I see it almost every week. Someone deals with the hacking. No government is too little or too small. We just want to make sure we're staying on top of that, making sure our IT department is training our employees. Almost all the hacks we see, they're someone clicking on a link in an email. So we just want to kind of remind you of that. And the next few slides, Gatsby's always busy. We've got kind of a break finally. We've implemented a lot of big accounting standards over the last 3-4 years. There's nothing really big on the horizon, but Tony and I will implement those as they come along. And we do continue to provide free CPE to all of our clients. It's quarterly sessions. They're remote. Tony and her group attend those. We appreciate their attendance. It's 28 hours of free CPE, and anyone at the city is welcome to attend. They are heavily government accounting based, but I can get anyone signed up that wants to learn. And that's all I have. And just in summary, like I said, it was a clean audit. Their findings, and you should receive the AGFR by the end of the week. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, you've heard the report of our audit. Any questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Moving to public hearings, will the clerk please read the first item?
This is agenda item number 2025-278, and that's ABL number 28235. Consideration of approval of an alcoholic beverage license application for LaDonna 30342 LLC, doing business as LaDonna Bar and Restaurant at 215 Northwood Drive, Suite 8, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30342. The applicant is Ashish Shetty for consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. Presented by Corey Holiness, Revenue Manager.
Ms. Holiness.
Good evening, Mayor Paul and City Council. This is an alcohol license for District 6. It's for a change of ownership application for consumption on the premises of wine, malt, beverage, and distilled spirits alcohol license. LaDonna 30342 LLC, DBA LaDonna Bar and Restaurant, 215 Northwood Drive, Suite 08, Sandy Springs, Georgia 30328. The applicant, Ashish Shetty, has met all requirements and staff recommends approval.
We had any public comment cards? We do not. All right, we'll close the public hearing. You've heard the report of the Revenue Manager. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-278, request for consideration of an alcohol beverage license for LaDonna 30342 LLC.
A motion by Mr. Baumann. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Baumann, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2025-278, an alcoholic beverage license application for LaDonna at 215 Northwood Drive, Suite 8, Sandy Springs. Any discussion?
I have one question.
Mr. DiGiulio.
I don't think, this is not important, but the zip code you gave and the zip code that's on here are different. Is that just a Scribner's error, or is that something that's going to affect this establishment in the future?
It should not, but I will definitely double check, because on the actual application, it is 30342 LLC.
Well, but then it says, the address also says Sandy Springs, Georgia, 30342, and you said it was 30328.
Okay, so that is an error. Yes, we'll have to correct that. But on the application, it is 30342 for the business address.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-278, the alcoholic beverage license application for LaDonna at 215 Northwood Drive. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-279, consideration of a resolution to approve a contract award to FS Scarborough LLC for construction services for the City of Sandy Springs portion of the Path 400 Multi-Use Trail Extension Project, Phase 2, and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract. This is presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Tonight I bring before you a recommendation to award a construction contract to FS Scarborough, LLC, to construct the City of Sandy Springs portion of Path 400 Multi-Use Trail Extension, in this case, Phase 2 or Segment 2, as we also refer to it, subject to the approval of the Georgia Department of Transportation. And we request that your authorization as well to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with FS Scarborough. The Path 400 trail extension, as you're aware, is the northern segment of Path 400, an overall 5.2-mile walkable, bikeable trail system being constructed on the public land adjacent to State Route 400. As you're aware, we did award previously segments 1 and 3 to FS Scarborough, dependent upon the funds available through the Atlanta Regional Commission at the time, with very good news received at the beginning of this year. The Atlanta Regional Commission was able to fully fund the competition and construction of this Segment 2 that we're now bringing before you as an award recommendation tonight. That was actually an unexpected surprise. We expected at least 2 more tranches through funding cycles before we were ultimately going to be able to get to this amount of money. So thank you again, ARC and our GDOT partners, for helping us get through this portion. To the end of now we had money. On July the 23rd of this year, we issued an invitation to bid, seeking bids from qualified contractors to perform the construction services. Pre-bid meeting was held on August 15th, and 8 bids were received by the October 6, 2025 deadline. Among those, FS Scarborough, the active contractor on segments 1 and 3, at a low bid figure of $15,758,413 compared to the engineer's estimate of $19,587,650. Based on staff's evaluation and current evidence of successful completion of work we've witnessed with Scarborough on the active portion of the project, staff recommends that council approve tonight an award to FS Scarborough in the amount of $15,758,413. From here, once award is approved tonight, if the council chooses to do so, we then submit this award recommendation along with other information required by the Georgia Department of Transportation to GDOT to then seek a construction agreement and ultimately a notice to proceed to award from GDOT. So there's a little bit of, there's some time yet before we can ultimately mobilize the construction contract. Historically, based on the award for segments 1 and 3, we expect that to be somewhere in the vicinity of about 6 months before we get the completed construction agreement and the notice to proceed from GDOT. So, and that would seem to be about the pace with the earlier award from GDOT for processing the construction agreement. With that, Mayor and Council, any questions?
All right, you've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. DiGiulio.
I move approval of item 2025-279, approving a contract award to FS Scarborough LLC for the construction services for the City of Sandy Springs portion of Path 400 Multi-Trail Extension Project, Phase 2.
Got a motion by Mr. DiGiulio. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiGiulio, seconded by Mr. Baumann, that we approve agenda item 2025-279, a contract award to FS Scarborough for construction services for the Sandy Springs portion of Path 400 Multi-Use Trail Extension. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Baumann.
So, Marty, Engineers Estimate, Inc., was that a bidder or an estimate?
That was an estimate from our engineer, in this case, Heath and Lineback Engineers Incorporated. So not Engineers Estimate, Inc. We didn't go to a job shop to get the estimate.
Just strange in the chart, so that's not.
That's a typo.
Okay.
For lack of a better term. Yes, sir.
I've said this before throughout this project over years, this is a big effing deal, and I am really excited to see this transformative project with all of the segments to create this kind of really inter-municipality connectivity that I think is going to be transformative for years to come. Mayor, the NRC, thank you for your work, to staff, Marty, GDOT, everybody, and anybody that was involved in securing the funds to advance this project. It's we'll look back on this for these years. This is a big one, and I'm excited to see it moving dirt.
Thank you for pointing that out, Councilman. Yeah, we're ecstatic, but this is my exuberant face, if you haven't noticed it before. So anyhow, so.
Ms. Mueller.
So, Marty, can you, I don't know if you have this tonight, but could you send the council a reminder of what's the total funding that we have allocated now for all three of these, assuming this is approved
That
tonight?
would be greatly appreciated if I could send that to you afterward. It
Yeah,
gets a
I know
little
you don't have it,
complicated.
but
We've
if
got
we
a
could
couple
get
of
that, that
different
would be
local
good.
matches in play as well,
Yes.
and a significant contribution, again, as I mentioned, from through
Right.
ARC to support this project.
So I think that's fantastic to know that, and I think this is Councilman Bauman's great project.
Any other discussion?
Mayor
Mr.
Paul.
Paulson.
Thank you. I echo these sentiments. This is a great project. Being able to connect Sandy Springs to the rest of these trails down Path 400 into Atlanta, into all the way to Alabama, I guess, if you really want to go that far. So there's a timing question on my mind. You think it's going to be 6 months before Scarborough's going to get released to do Phase 2. Will they still be working on Phase 1 and 3 so that they've already mobilized on site?
Yes,
They just
sir.
keep on going?
So each of these segments, the initial contract plus this contract, have a total duration of about 3 years as bid. So we expect plenty of activity still with Scarborough
Okay.
at the time.
Thanks, good.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-279, approving a contract award to FS Scarborough for construction services of the City of Sandy Springs portion of Path 400. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-280. Consideration of a resolution to approve a contract award to Soul Construction LLC to construct the Jet Ferry Road and Spalding Drive sidewalk project and to authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Also presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and council, in this case, we recommend award tonight of the Spalding Drive at Jet Ferry Road sidewalk project, and ask again that your authorization to allow the city manager to execute the contract. In this case, the project installs some 1,875 linear feet of sidewalk on Jet Ferry Road from existing sidewalk located at Jet Ferry Court to Spalding Drive, and then from Spalding Drive 3245 to 7655 Dunvegan Close. The project also includes a mid-block pedestrian crossing with a rapid flashing beacon to connect sidewalk on the north and south sides of Spalding Drive. For the purposes of this bid, the bid documents were issued, the invitation, on October the 8th of this year, seeking bids from qualified contractors. A non-mandatory pre-bid meeting was held on October 20th. 8 bids were received prior to the November 7th, 2025 deadline. Out of those 8 bidders, Saul Construction gave us the low bid of $667,792 compared to all other bidders. We've had good experience with Saul Construction. They recently wrapping up our sidewalk construction on Evergreen Drive. As a matter of fact, they're finishing ahead of schedule there early, as a matter of fact. So we have trust that Saul will do a good job for us here as well. So with that, staff recommends award to Saul, and this project is funded through the T-Splosh Sidewalk Program.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-280, resolution to approve the contract award to Saul Construction LLC to construct the Jet Ferry Road and Spalding Drive sidewalk project and authorize city manager to execute same.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? I'll second it. Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Dr. Kelly, that we approve agenda item 2025-280, a contract award to Saul Construction to construct the Jet Ferry Road and Spalding Drive sidewalk project. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Hallelujah, Marty. These neighbors have been waiting for and looking forward to this, and it's a strange situation because a lot of these folks shop down at the Kroger Shopping Center, which is just down Jet Ferry, but getting to the Kroger Shopping Center from some of these neighborhoods further north is just hard. So this makes it way easier for them to get down into that area. So I'm glad of that. Has the neighborhood been made aware of this yet? Do they know this is coming, or is tonight the first official?
We'll let them know that it's awarded, obviously, and we'll reach back out to them. We've been in touch with all of them as we've
Yeah.
worked through the right-of-way agreements out there a couple of times in some cases to make sure we got it right for them. And one case, I believe Mr. Hill in this case, we teed up right at his property with the previous sidewalk segment we built out there several years ago and needed to go back to him to continue the sidewalk on and make the mid-lot crossing there. So they've been supportive, just taken a little while to get through the negotiations, the agreements with them, and we'll let them know as we get ready. And we expect this award recommendation tonight. The holidays coming, we'll get the paperwork moving. First thing next year is when we expect to mobilize the contractor.
Fantastic. Good, thank you.
Dr. Kelly.
How much, do you recall how much was budgeted for this item in T-SPLOST?
I don't have that in front of me right now, Dr. Kelly. We do track it against that. We haven't been showing a deficit against this one, but I can get that back to you as well, if you like.
Okay, because my question then will be, if there are additional funds left over, can those funds be moved to the capital sidewalk item in T-SPLOST, in our T-SPLOST?
If there's any reservation there, absolutely. So and what we periodically do, and we have a couple of, if you recollect in T-SPLOST, we have a couple of fairly large capital projects yet to bid there. So we've got a couple outstanding Tier 1 projects against our T-SPLOST program overall as we talk about reallocating monies tonight.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-280, approving a contract award to Saul Construction to construct the Jet Ferry Road and Spalding Drive sidewalk project. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
This is agenda item number 2025-281. Consideration of a resolution to authorize a purchasing agreement with Constant Technologies, Inc. for the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center technology enhancements under the Public Safety and Community Violence Reduction Grant. This is, presented by CIE Unit Manager Jason McCabe.
Mr. Cape.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in November of 22, the city submitted the equipment and technology application for the Public Safety and Community Violence Reduction Grant that's been awarded through the state of Georgia, the governor's office. We were awarded $752,514.40, and in July of 2023, the council accepted the award. Throughout the project, we've conducted internal reviews, and the progress has been monitored by Sandy Springs Police and the city. We determined that some equipment items, training courses, and software licenses were no longer necessary for the grant project and for the objectives, and we specifically ran into some challenges regarding a TMC camera project. The original project involved placing 35 traffic management cameras throughout the city to enhance our situational awareness and public safety monitoring. We utilized these in real-time support and investigations. Originally, the quote was approximately $330,000, and that was used as the basis of the project's budget. After consulting with the vendor in numerous meetings and then site assessments, we chose sites based on hotspots of violent crime and violent gun activity, which is the overall mission of this grant. And due to their labor costs, issues surrounding those specific locations and different install, the price increased to $845,000. Along with the limited timeline, which ends in October of 2026, and the fact that the proposal came back greatly over the budget, we're proposing to, actually applied for a budget amendment to shift these funds to technology enhancements in the Real-Time Crime Center of the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center. These enhancements would include expanding the video wall display, the video processing and control systems that go with that, cabling and rack upgrades and network connections. And one part specifically is the grant-funded analyst that we got with the personnel grant. The workstation is not connected to the system, and this project would allow his workstation to be fully connected to the system and allow him to utilize it. These will also improve our real-time monitoring of the violent crime, critical incidents, and support faster, more informed decision-making during these incidents. The reason we're recommending Constant Technologies is we partnered with our procurement director and our finance department and determined that expansion that must integrate with the existing video wall system that was originally designed and installed by Constant Technologies. While other vendors could provide similar equipment like TV screens and the actual physical equipment, having them install it would risk compatibility issues and void current support agreements we have with Constant. Any new vendor would not be responsible for the current technology, and the current technology vendor of Constant would not be responsible for them. And the whole system needs to be compatible. So that's why under federal grant rules, we determined that the unique compatibility and continuity design requirements qualifies them as a sole source. Our recommendation is to authorize a purchasing agreement with Constant Technologies in the amount of $250,526.90, and we believe it will strengthen the capabilities of the Criminal Intelligence Unit and the Grant Fund Criminal Intelligence Analyst to further support the grant project.
All right, you've heard the report of the CI unit manager. What's the desire of council? Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-281, resolution authorizing a purchasing agreement with Constant Technology for the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center technology enhancements under the Public Safety and Community Violence Reduction Act.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. DiGiulio, that we approve agenda item 2025-281, a purchasing agreement with Constant Technologies for the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center technology enhancements. Mr. McCabe, it looks like we're a victim of bait and switch.
I'm not sure that's entirely. The biggest reason that happened was specific site assessments. So once we gathered the data and picked the specific sites, some of that came due to infrastructure, and as they went to each individual site to determine what power would be needed, networking, to actually give us the ability to place cameras where we want them. And that was the biggest reason I got for the significant increase in labor. And we also thought it was best not to just choose other locations just to choose them. We wanted to do it based on the violent crime data and the areas that we needed covered. So that's why we're looking at switching.
Ms. Mueller.
So are we sure that we have the requirements now since we switched? This is not about the cameras, but the change that we have the full scope of the requirements and they're not going to change?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the scope is set. And then once this grant, the funds are are consumed, is there any ongoing costs that we have to consider for maintenance going forward once those funds are done?
Overall for the project, yes, ma'am. I don't have exact numbers, but we could look into that. But through the project, there are license plate readers and different funds that we will be budgeting for and proposing to continue.
So those will be part of like upcoming budget cycles once we go through and consume the funding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Paulson.
Thank you. So a question on the math here. We originally had $752,000 targeted for equipment and technology. We're only spending $250,000. So where's the other $500,000? Do we still have that in reserve to use somewhere else?
No, sir. Most of that has been expended through the original scope of the project of the equipment, like license plate reader technology, equipment for the grant-funded analyst and the grant-funded CSI positions. So most of that has been expended, and the remaining projects are a server upgrade and a BOLO program.
And so that makes up the difference between the two?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because the other thing you had targeted $330,000 for this, and now we're only spending $250,000, so that's another $80,000. Where did you redirect that $80,000?
Yes, sir. That is redirected into server upgrades and the BOLO project.
Okay, so in essence, no new cameras at this point?
No new traffic management cameras from us, no, sir.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good idea. It's too bad it didn't work out.
Any other discussion? Well, hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-281, authorizing a purchase agreement with Constant Technologies for the Sandy Springs Intelligence Operations Center technology enhancements. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. The clerk will please read the next item.
Agenda item number 2025-282, consideration of a resolution to approve a memorandum of authorization between the city and the appropriate party for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security International Federation of Association Football World Cup Grant Program, and to authorize the city manager to execute the same. This is presented by Major Forrest Bohannon.
Major Bohannon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Atlanta Regional Commission presented the City of Atlanta with a federal funding opportunity through the Department of Homeland Security for the security and operational support for the FIFA World Cup next year. The City of Atlanta requested that the City of Sandy Springs be a subrecipient of the grant program to receive reimbursement for overtime costs incurred while providing public safety support during the World Cup events. Our police and fire departments will provide personnel with projected overtime expenses of approximately $78,000. These costs will be reimbursed in fiscal year 2027 through the DHS grant program. The staff recommends approving the memorandum of authorization between the city and the Department of Homeland Security.
You've heard the report of the police major. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-282, approve the memorandum of authorization between the city and the appropriate party for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security International Federation of Association Football World Cup Grant Program, and authorize city manager to execute same.
A motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Baumann, that we approve agenda item 2025-282, the memorandum authorizing the city and the appropriate party for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security International Federation Association Football World Cup Grant Program. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
So it's interesting how this is worded, between the city and the appropriate party. Who will that appropriate party wind up being? Do you know?
I don't know who we've determined the contact is with DHS. I think the Atlanta Regional Commission is still trying to work everything out, but all of the sub-grantees had to, I guess, turn in their amounts, and then they have to work through the grant process with DHS.
Okay.
There's still a lot of things up in the air.
I would guess, yeah.
Even though they're making the draws on Thursday, I think, the 5th, so we'll know which teams are coming. But we've been working closely with the Atlanta Sports Council, Mr. Corso, and the City of Atlanta. This request comes from the police folks and who've got to provide security. They want our participation in the security arrangements. We're working on a lot of things around that particular event. Some events that we'll hopefully hold here in this facility are out on the green. So, yeah, but there's still a lot of things up in the air.
I just asked when the appropriate party is identified, just let us know who it is.
Yes, sir.
I have two questions.
Okay, Ms. Mueller.
And just I think it was like 30, is it 30 or 33 officers, it looked like, and then we have 3 fire. Will we make sure that we have appropriate staffing for our city while they're down helping out?
Yes, ma'am. So the overtime will encompass both probably overtime for being in the City of Atlanta and make up some of our overtime here.
Okay.
We should be able to be fully staffed in the city without needing to use any overtime, since we have plenty of time to plan for this.
And then just a question about the amount. If our overtime was to exceed, how would we go and recover for that? Or do we know, or have we asked about that?
I don't think we have to give them a solid number.
Okay.
I think we're approximating, so it could be a little under 78,000, it could be over 78,000, but there should be some allotment in the grant for a little bit of fluctuation.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on agenda item 2025-282, a memorandum authorization between the city and the appropriate party for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security International Federation Association Football World Cup Grant Program. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to Mayor and Council reports.
Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. We got the one at the foot. It's right here in my notes. Right here in my notes. Can't read my own writing. The clerk, please read item 2025-273.
This is consideration of a resolution to approve a permanent easement for the monitoring of slopes from David E. and Beverly Chenal on the certain tract of land located at 10 Mariana Drive, that's tax parcel ID number 17009200060080, land lot 92, the 17th District, City of Sandy Springs, Fulton County, Georgia, presented by Public Works Director Marty Martin.
Mr. Martin.
Mayor and council, in this case, as you recollect, some over a year ago now, we had a slip of some of the material on the slope on Lake Forest Drive at Mariana. In conjunction with that slip, we first developed, through our geotechnical engineer's evaluation, a recommendation for a restoration of that slope, and in fact, a repair of that slope. That was based on the conditions of that particular slope, which included significant loose material on top of otherwise competent rock, but competent rock that was fairly low down on the slope there. As a part of that work, we worked then with, after a presentation to council, we worked with Councilman Paulson to discuss some alternatives to the very expensive repair that would be warranted and recommended by the geotechnical engineer, at least as an interim measure. To that end, as you see from the title here, monitoring of slopes was the recommendation that came out of the discussion. We had Councilman Paulson, our geotechnical engineer, with United Consultant and staff. And in this case, the proposal is to put 2 monitoring bores, inclinometers, on the slope at the Chenault's address. Consultant would install the inclinometers, and then we would perform monitoring on a periodic basis to check the condition of the slope and see if there's any movement therein associated with the unconsolidated material, so to speak, on the top of the slope and the solid, very solid rock underneath it all there that seems to be holding it all up and has for many, many years. So with that, we went back to the Chenaults, and I went out to see the Chenaults literally a day or so after we first observed the slope movement out there, and told them that we needed to do some investigative work and you'd see us out here for a while. And they were very cooperative then and have been extremely cooperative with us throughout the entire path to get here, to include discussions on some select tree removal at the very top of the slope to further stabilize conditions, the installation of these monitoring bores on part of their property, and the access associated with the property. So it's with that, I think, good idea for an interim solution as we check the slope and its overall stability that we bring this solution to you tonight, and the permanent easement that we ask that you accept from the Chenaults, donation in this case, so that we can clear the slope at the very top, install the monitoring wells, and proceed on with monitoring of the site. And based on that, periodic evaluation with the geotechnical engineer to see where and what the slope may need next in terms of remediation action.
You've heard the report of the Public Works Director. What's the desire of council?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move approval of agenda item 2025-273, resolution to approve a permanent easement for the monitoring of slopes from David E. and Beverly Chenault on the certain tract of land located at 10 Mariana Drive, land lot 92 of the 17th District, City of Sandy Springs, Fulton County.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Second. Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. Baumann, that we approve agenda item 2025-273, a resolution to approve a permanent easement for the monitoring of slopes from David E. and Beverly Chenault on certain tract of land located at 10 Mariana Drive. Any discussion?
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
Marty, thank you very much for bringing this forward and for pursuing this approach. This is kind of the observational approach to these situations where you observe what's happening, and then based on what you see, then you can decide what the next steps are. One of the things that makes me interested in this is we've probably got a dozen or more of these steep cut slopes alongside roads in the Sandy Springs area. And maybe what we do is, next step is to look at some of these other steep slopes and decide, do we want to monitor some of these? Keep an eye on these things, and then if it starts to indicate there's movement, then we fix them. But we're spending thousands of dollars as opposed to hundreds of thousands of dollars. At least at that point, once we have knowledge that something is moving, then you repair it, and that's a money well spent, in my opinion. So I think there's a great idea. Let's get it in, and then I would suggest staff look at other slopes. Maybe we do the same thing, keep an eye on some of those tall ones that are on Lake Forest and some other areas as well.
And as you're aware from the study we briefed, we have a couple other slopes we're looking at potential monitoring on as well out there as we move the process along. This was the most urgent among those. So,
good. Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question is on agenda item 2025-273, a resolution approving a permanent easement for the monitoring of slopes from David E. and Beverly Chenault on land located at 10 Mariana Drive. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The item is approved. Moving to reports. I don't have much. I was able to participate in a ribbon cutting for the new employment center at the Community Assistance Center. Congresswoman Lucy McBath was there, and several other folks were there. It was another step in CAC, being able to provide great services to our local residents. This employment center will help connect people with jobs in our neighborhood that for people who really need them, either because they're underemployed or unemployed. So it was a great opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity to be there, to be part of that. That's all I've got. Anybody else? Mr. Paulson.
I've got two items. The first is, we just had an audit of our books that found absolutely no findings. Mm-hmm. And we've become so used to that we didn't even recognize it. I just want to take a minute and say thank you, Tony, and your team for keeping us out of trouble here, okay? So good job, and we didn't mean to ignore you earlier, but I thought let's make sure you know that we appreciate what you're doing, okay? You're welcome. Second item is, at the next meeting, it'll be the last meeting for several members of this council, Councilman DeGiulio, Jody Rochelle, and Andy Bauman. And Tibby's been with this council since the beginning, as he reminds us all the time. And so I wanted to let everybody know at the next meeting we will be recognizing these folks. And my challenge to folks is, if you have a good Tibby DeGiulio or Andy or Jody story, you have 3 minutes in the next meeting to come tell a story so we can hear more about the inner workings of
their term will be up by then.
It will. So
by the time they get through with the stories, it will be.
That's right. So anyway, just that's funny. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? All right. We do have an executive session. We got any staff reports? All right. We have an executive session for the purpose of litigation. So I need a motion to suspend regular order and go into executive session.
Mayor Paul.
Mr. Paulson.
I move that we suspend regular order and move into executive session for the purposes of litigation.
Motion by Mr. Paulson. Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Paulson, seconded by Mr. DeGiulio, that we suspend regular order and move into executive session for the purposes of litigation. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. The question's on the executive order. The executive session. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are in executive session. 6:53.
executive session. We're back in regular order.
Mr. Paulson moves we close executive session and return to regular order. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. DiGiulio. Any discussion? All hearing none, we'll call the question. What's the desire? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Mr. DiGiulio.
Move adjournment.
Mr. DiGiulio moves adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paulson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are adjourned at 7:12. Yep. They were supposed to release the early voting at 7.